Welcome to the Real Food RN Wellness Podcast, the show that empowers you to open your eyes and mind to embrace a healthful life and take your health into your own hands. With topics like detoxing, basic foundational complete nutrition, and essential oil studies and uses, you found the perfect place to start your journey to better all-around health for you and your family. Here you'll discover how to equip yourself to live healthy on your terms with your host and RN, Kate.
Kysa grew up in Portland, Oregon, traveled the world, studied nutrition in college, and ended up back in Portland as a commodities trader and ski coach. After having her fourth child, she wrote a book and had wanted to write a book since she was 18 years old, writing in a journal on a flight back from Australia. Now she is a stay-at-home mom to 6 kids, the last 2 identical girls. She loves every minute but is curious as to what her next adventure will be. She posts on Instagram often, mostly funny stories about her family, a lot about her husband, and great tips about family, home, and raising children. Her website is www.say-it-once.com, where she posts her book engagements. And lastly, her book can be found on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and Powell's website, including various great small bookstores around the country.
And so I want them to come hungry.
So how do you...
Anyway, that's my...
I was reading on your website, you had some good tips about like leftovers, like how you make actually less than for like 9 people or whatever, you make less than individual portions so that you don't have as much left over. And like, how do you do that many people to feed? I mean, we have an au pair that lives with us from Poland. So we have 3 adults and 3 kids every day. And I'm always like thinking big. I mean, I cook for, a lot. You cook for more.
Yeah. I tend to, last night I made a pasta dish that was amazing. It was a cauliflower sauce. So it's kind of like an Alfredo. If you want it, I can send it to you. It was amazing. But I only made a serving for 4. And the reason is I wanted to not have any leftovers, right? My kids just don't, there's always a little bit, but generally we don't eat leftovers a lot. Sometimes they're starting to take it in their lunch, but I'd rather fill their plate with, they had that awesome cauliflower pasta thing, but then they had a salad too, and they grub on that, and then a fruit or, a couple cashews or something fun. I mean, I've even thrown an Oreo on the plate for dinner just to really like change the vibe of dinner. It's not all about the food. Finish your food. Try this, try that. It's kind of fun, but I definitely like to have a big variety. So I don't cook for 9, which is how many are in our house ever, because everybody's view on serving sizes is very different.
Yeah.
The recipe I last night was for 2, so I doubled it, but it was pretty big. But I would rather have a variety on their plate, for them to have a variety, for them, variety's the spice of life, right? So generally don't just do one big plop of food on a plate. And I can easily, feed 6 more kids if they walk in the door, the pasta might become the side, and the salad, which is easier to, beef up, then might become the main. So I shift around. It just depends.
I try to put a salad in with every meal too, every night, because like my kids kind of pick what they want from that, because I put so much stuff in there. So some days they just want to eat bell peppers. So they're like picking the peppers out, or sometimes they want carrots. So each night it's a little bit different. I always throw a few leaves on their plates, but and you have 6 kids, and what are your kids' ages?
So my stepson is 17, and then I have 5 for me. So Teddy is a boy. He's 8. Murphy's a girl. She's 7. Harvey is a boy. Look at me, I have to think, 6. And then the girls, they're identical, are 2.5.
They're so cute. Wow. I mean, after having that many kids, and then you have twins to cap it off. I mean, that's a lot of kids.
Yeah. It's awesome. It's awesome sprinkled with frustration every now and again, right? You know that.
Yeah. I mean, we have 3 and we're trying for a 4th. So
you are?
Yeah, we're like, we just keep looking at each other, because my husband and I both work from home, and we're like, what are we getting into? But yeah, once you have 3, you're in a tailspin anyway. You might as well just keep adding more,
Exactly. All it is a change in cars, right?
Yeah, totally. And I actually find it to be fun like we cook a lot of food. I mean, I make 3 square meals a day every day because we're always home. My 2 older kids go to school, but I like cooking large amounts of food. Like tonight, I'm making chicken. I have 3 huge things of chicken on the counter thawing out for our dinner. It's a lot of food, but I don't know. It's just, I find it easier, which seems strange.
Yeah, it is easy. I mean, like I say I make smaller servings, but like that cauliflower sauce, I made extra, and that's in the freezer.
Yeah.
So I'll make extra of things that I can kind of grab out later. But yeah, I do. I like it. Tonight I'm making like a chicken honey glaze, I don't know, pan thing with some spiced zucchini. I can't remember.
That sounds
Something.
good. Yeah, I'm making
I know.
chicken with cabbage. It's really boring, but have you ever heard of the Trim Healthy Mamas? They have a
No.
cookbook. Oh, their cookbook is so good. It's basically ketogenic,
Uh-huh.
but their recipes are amazing. So I've been living on that book.
Oh, I'll have to check that out. I have Murphy, the 7-year-old, is becoming quite a little cook, but she really, obviously, of course, enjoys baking. And I've had to shift her from, your basic Toll House cookie, which I love, but I'm thinking, if I have her cook vegan or bake vegan, it's just going to be a little bit more healthy to be sitting on the counter with everybody picking at it.
Cool. I love it. My daughter is I got her the Usborne cookbook, the beginning cooking or whatever. It teaches them all the techniques, and she's really been diving into that. So it's really cute. So what are your solutions for picky eaters? How do you do you have picky eaters? I have one.
No. I think that which one?
My youngest. He's very challenging.
Yeah. Well, he's also, yeah, I mean, I think they're kind of created, right? I think that they learn very quickly that is a place of control.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, they don't get to choose when they go to bed. Some, if crying it out is how you do it in your family, then they don't win that battle. They don't always pick what they get to wear, right? So they don't with that. I mean, some kids do, whatever. They don't really get that battle. If it's cold out, which it is in Minnesota right now,
Yeah.
You don't get to pick, that you get to wear your jacket or not all the time. Here you do. We don't have your kind of temperatures, but like their choices are so limited, right? And that is where they start to get their choices. So the minute they get to be, choose those things like, oh, well, I don't like that. I don't like that. They start getting a lot of attention, right? I mean, it's just natural. Everybody else is eating this stuff. And so my biggest thing is just sort of ignore it. I know that sounds crazy and we shouldn't ignore our children's emotions, but around food, I mean, you and I are women, we've gained a lot of weight with our babies, like we've had to lose it. There's a lot of stuff around that. So I tend to just sort of turn my eye, and ignore. My 17-year-old, when I started dating my husband, he was 5 and he ate pasta, red pepper, Oreos, and bacon. That's it. And, I'm a nutritionist. I mean, I was by trade, right? I'd cook. And I remember the first night he had a friend over, I cooked a lasagna, put it down on the table. Ian started crying. My husband David got furious. And I was like, what? I mean, is he allergic to lasagna? Like what? I mean, I know that was a terrible thing to say, but, I was like, what? Well, he doesn't like this. And I'm thinking to myself, oh boy, now you're speaking for him, right? He hasn't even had an opportunity to it, right? So you have stepped in, put up this wall, made this emotional thing. His friend over there is on serving number 7. So why don't we just ignore it? That goes back to the cauliflower. Are you hungry? If you're hungry, eat the cauliflower or the apple, right? So I just kind of let the emotions around food really, I don't acknowledge them. I don't totally believe in picky eaters. I really don't. Like, oh, I'm sorry you don't want to try it. Period. Like, we're done. Right? That just should be the end of it. Starvation is something you and I will never feel. Right? Mostly. And I hear it's a really, really, really painful death. Like, terrible, terrible, terrible. Hunger is uncomfortable. Right? If a little guy is hungry, which they probably aren't going to be because that much milk will fill them up, right? Because their tummies are the size of their fist. I mean, they're teeny. So I just tend to sort of steer away from it. I mean, I have kids who don't like food, and that's fine with me. That's different. But those decisions are made, I think, around age 5, I want to say 4 or 5, where we can have a conversation and,
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I just,
we've had to get creative. I mean, my 3-year-old, his thing now is it's the control. He wants to eat
yeah,
pancakes all the time, and luckily I'm pretty creative at. I had a lot of stuff on these healthy pancakes, but like every day he just wants pancakes, and I'm like, dude. And so we've just been working on different ways of getting fruit in and smoothies, and I made chia seed pudding, and so it's like making healthy versions of the unhealthy things that they see. So they think they're
mhm,
getting pudding and pancakes, but really it's like all these different really superfoods and stuff. But my other kids, we just educate them. I mean, my daughter loves learning about healthy food and she loves educating other people on healthy food. Sometimes I'm like, okay, you don't want to push it too much when you're at school telling your friends everything they eat is junk, you know?
yeah,
But because we empowered them, I mean, Ellie, when we were just recently on a Disney cruise, she ordered a salad one night and she was so proud. She's like, Mommy, I ordered the healthiest thing on the menu. So that's kind of how we worked our way around picky eaters, was just teaching them, if you eat this junk that all your friends are
yeah,
going to eat, you're going to feel like crap. And they do. And they try it. They'll go to birthday parties and I'm like, fine, have the cake. It's full of garbage, but if you desperately need that
yeah,
cake, have it. They eat it. And then they tell me how gross they feel. And then the next time they go to a party, they don't have the cake. And I'm like, yes, mom win, you know?
yeah. Yeah, and I think with the little guy, I mean, if try it out. Don't like bow down to his needs. Let
Hmm.
him come up, let him rise up to yours.
Yeah.
Because I don't think you need to do that much work. Like that's what I say a lot about in my book. Like I don't think you guys, especially with number 4 in the near future,
Hmm.
right, to do that much more work for one of your children is a lot of work, creates a lot of unwanted emotion from other people, right? Because you have to take a lot of time to make the chia pudding, the pancakes, and all of a sudden, and I bet you that kid living in your family with you as a parent, and I don't know your husband, has the ability to rise up and come to the table and eat like the chicken tonight. I don't think you need to go out of your way. It'll be 2 weeks of absolute hell, right?
Yep, that's what it was with my other
But if
kids.
you yeah, I mean, if every night have your whatever you have to like get yourself through the day, I bet you that child after day 14, if not sooner, will be, eating like the other ones.
Well, in one way that we were able to change some of the picky, my kids would go through phases of picky. Like it's kind of like that experiment with it. Like I'm gonna really dial this up right now and see how much control I can get over mommy. And so what we do is we're like, fine, if you're not hungry at dinner, you're still gonna sit at the table with us because that's like our family time. We talk about our day, we talk about everything. And if you don't want to eat, that's fine. Don't eat, but don't come to me later wanting a snack. You're going to have to eat what you have on your plate. It's just going to be cold and probably not near as tasty, but that is your choice tonight. And I mean, I've had my kids sitting at the table not eating, which sounds bad. And then 8 o'clock at night, they quick want to eat their salad before they go to bed. And I'm like, but they do that like once and they're like, wow, that sucked. I'm not going to do that tomorrow night. So they decide
Yeah,
to
see, you're
eat.
nicer than me. I don't even do that. I mean, when our dinner is over, our kitchen is closed, except for the 17-year-old. I mean, we're
Yeah.
talking, that's a whole nother league of eating. But yeah, my kids know, done.
Oh, I just take the plate and I clean up the whole kitchen. I turn off the lights and I put the plate on the counter and I'm like, all right, here it is. If you're hungry, you can return to
Yeah.
this. And yeah, I mean, they've gone to bed hungry before, but also I think there's that whole clean platers club. Growing up, like I had to eat every morsel on my plate. And I don't really think sometimes my kids will have a bug that they're fighting that maybe I don't really know that they're sick because they're not really sick. And they just don't want to eat because they don't feel that great. But like Jake doesn't really, my 3-year-old doesn't really know how to communicate that to me, but I can just kind of see it. And I'm like, oh, he's
Yeah.
just, when he doesn't feel well, he doesn't want to eat. So I'm like, fine, he's not going to have dinner tonight and he's totally fine with it. And so I kind of pay attention to their cues too.
I totally agree. I mean, Harvey, my 6-year-old, I don't think he ate dinner from age 4 to maybe age 3 to 5.5. I mean, he just wasn't his thing. I mean, he would sit at the table with us like you guys do and,
Hmm.
be a part of that time and have dinner and, and sit there. But he's like, yeah, mama, I don't want to eat. And it's, I agree with you. The clean plate club is for obesity.
Mhm.
That is where you're headed.
Mhm.
And that is not teaching children how to listen to their body at all. And if this child doesn't want to eat and he's 5 or 6 or 4 years old, I am going to support that. That is just fine with me. Now, this is the child who will eat, 10 pancakes for breakfast,
Mhm.
but he's, an early eater, or some days he doesn't. But I think, that's one of the most important things to teach our kids is to eat because you're hungry or you're fueling your body, to drink because you're thirsty,
Mhm.
because you're dehydrated. Like that's super, super important.
Mhm.
And I think we can chill out a little bit on at that younger age about every single calorie that they put in their body has to be, perfect,
Mhm.
because that's hard to monitor. It's really stressful to monitor. Like your kids, they're at the age where they're learning. That didn't make me feel so good,
Mhm.
right?
Well,
The birthday cake example.
yeah. When I mean, we just like to educate them. Like, we eat a ton of avocados. That is like something that we just eat so much of in this house. So we have them with breakfast. And I mean, like this morning, Jake had his pancake and half an avocado or a quarter of an avocado and some strawberries and a little piece of bacon. And I mean, it wasn't like this huge breakfast, but it was just little things and it was very nutrient dense. And he got to pick it, and
Yeah.
I cut the. We have a strawberry slicer. Like, I get my kids all these kitchen tools, so we got this thing. You just put the strawberry and it slices it. And my 6-year-old just thinks it's the coolest thing ever that he can cook with his strawberry cutters. And I have a kid knife and I have all these different kid
Yeah.
gadgets. So they, like, the other day, Andrew, my middle child's like, "Mommy, can I cut up an avocado and have it?" I'm like, "Yes, absolutely, buddy." He got out his knife, he cut it into pieces and he ate it, but it was because I didn't do it, because he got to use a dull knife and do it himself. And it was fun to watch him want to eat an avocado voluntarily.
Yeah. Good for you. That's awesome. That's so awesome.
Yeah, it's fun. Those little gadgets are fun. I'm just trying to teach him how to cook. I learned how to bake a lot when I was a kid. That was something that we did too. As a young girl, I loved making cookies and all the things, but I learned a little bit from my grandma. I just didn't know how to make like vegetables and stuff. And so we're really focusing on teaching our kids how to cut up a bell pepper and eat that, and how to cut up
Mm.
an avocado and to slice strawberries, and just things that they can prepare for themselves. We have meat and cheese cut up in the fridge, and they can have that. And if for dinner they just want to have meat, cheese, strawberries, and some avocado, I'm cool with that, because they prepared it themselves. I mean, the other day they were making a salad for themselves, and it was, oh my gosh, what did they put in there? It was so gross. It was like pickles and tart cherries. I'm like, "You're gonna eat that and bananas?" Andrew's like, "Yeah, mom, it sounds amazing." I'm like, "If you want to have a pickle, tart cherry, and banana salad, cool." And he loved it. And because I was
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
because I was like, "This is really weird," he ate every last bite of it to prove to me that it was not weird. It was in fact delicious. And then
Yeah.
he told me I should blog about it. I'm like, "Okay, we'll put that one up on the blog next week."
Yeah. That's awesome. Do they cook with you? Do they cook dinner with you and stuff?
Well, I just have kind of a method to my madness. You know how you can get things done quicker. Like, I just have prep. I don't know. So they help with dinner if it's not a weeknight, basically. Like the weeknights, I just want
Yeah.
to get dinner on the table, get dinner done,
Mhm.
and get my pajamas on.
Yeah.
On the weekends, things
No,
are much more slower. So then I'm like, "Hey, come and help me cut some peppers or whatever."
yeah. On the weeknights it's a little crazy
Yeah.
to do it,
And
especially when I get the prep done early. But
exactly. Yeah, and when they get home from school, our school day ends really early at 2:10, so they get home and they come right into the kitchen and start doing their homework just to get it done. And I mean, if it's a meal where I'm going to be prepping a bunch of stuff, I start prepping when they're doing their homework. And when they're watching me, a lot of times they'll speed up and quick get their homework done so they can help cut something up. They love having, I mean,
oh,
it's a lettuce knife is what their knife is, and it's like it's dull and it's plastic, but they can slice up all kinds of vegetables and stuff with it. And if they're sitting there watching me, I'll be like, "All right, I just pass the cutting board to them, and they can cut up a bell pepper for me, which takes 30 minutes for them to do. It takes me 5 minutes. So if I'm in a hurry, I'm like, "No, you guys
yeah.
aren't going to help tonight. Sorry." They can set the table.
Yeah,
That's something they do. They love setting the table.
it does. I have these guys help. 2 to 3 to 4 nights a week, not all of them, one at a time. And it does require a lot of calm, patience.
Yes.
But I know, in the long, I mean, I was raised not by someone who cooked,
Mhm.
there was no cooking in my house. And it is cool to watch them. It is slow, but I
Mhm.
was slow a long time ago cutting my first onion. And, this weekend I had Teddy who prepped dinner for me. That was his chores. We do chores on the weekend, just 2 hours. But he's like bawling because of this huge onion. And I said, well, I've heard before. I said, I'm used to it, but I've heard before if you put bread in your mouth, it helps. And so I go downstairs, I come back up. He literally has, half of a bagel hanging out of his mouth. And he's like, Mom, it worked. Slowly cutting this big, huge onion. It was
Oh,
pretty cute.
wow.
It is cute to see.
Yeah, I didn't
Yeah.
know that trick. That's a good tip. Yeah, my cuz my kids really want to help, but my like OCD personality when I want to get dinner on the table and I'm like, "Okay, a good mom would embrace their curiosity and I'm like, "No, I want dinner when I want dinner." So what I've done lately is they set the table. They put out the plates and I taught them how to fold like origami napkins. So,
Yeah.
because we use cloth napkins every night so I can wash them. And so they spend 20 to 30 minutes lining the plates up and folding these napkins. And it makes them feel like
Yeah.
they're like a part of dinner. And I can be in the kitchen just like whipping up stuff so I can get it on the table and get it done.
Yeah.
Like tonight, I
Yeah.
mean, our meal is going to be chicken that's cooked with a whole bunch of spices and a cabbage that I'm going to slice thin and saute. There's not a whole lot they can do because I don't want to mess them with raw chicken. And the cabbage, that knife probably won't cut the cabbage. So they're going to be doing origami napkins again, and it works. And they put
They
out the
must know.
pickles.
I mean, I let the 6 and 7 year olds use the big, huge butcher knife.
Really?
I do because I feel like they're not going to die.
Yeah.
You know, ER is pretty close. We have an orthopedic surgeon across the street and a pulmonologist on the other side. So somebody can stitch that up. Like, I don't know. My husband kind of freaks out when he watches in the kitchen and sees Harvey, who has a broken collarbone right now,
Oof.
with this massive knife, cutting, and he's, looking up, and I'm thinking, what can really, I know stuff can really go wrong, but I mean, when are they going to learn?
Yeah. Well,
Like,
I've let my daughter use the bigger knives before because girls are much more careful and cautious, slower moving. My boys, they just chop. They're coming. They're like, what can I light it on fire potentially? It's like
yeah,
but yeah.
it's cool. I mean, the 17-year-old, when we have him halftime, so when he's here on the weekends, he has to cook Sunday night dinner, like go to the grocery store from start to finish the entire thing, which is cool to watch. I mean, it takes time, but how else is he going to learn?
Yeah. So what I actually want to hear, like, so what's your story? Like, how did you get into this whole cooking thing? And then I want to hear a little bit about your book and your blog and all the stuff that you do because I think that you are hilarious. I love your Instagram account. It just cracks me up. I mean, you have a good sense of humor and you're not so
Yeah.
like everything has to be perfect and life is perfect and look at my perfect Instagram account. You're like, look, this is real life. I have like a million kids and this is how I'm going to do it. And I love that. So just like tell me your story.
So here's my book. You see it?
Yay.
There it is. I was lucky and I was able, or 19. I went over to Australia on exchange for a month or two, and on the way home, we were supposed to journal about it. I was journaling, and I thought, oh my gosh, I love this writing. I loved it. There was no constrictions, nothing. You could just write. Nobody, corrected your spelling, your punctuation, nothing. Just go. This, write on paper. And fast forward, let's see, 10 years, 11 years, I graduated from college in nutrition. I don't know, it just interested me. I forgot about writing the book. And I didn't, as a nutritionist in the hospital, you work in a hospital. I mean,
I
you're
did.
a nurse,
Yeah,
right?
for 15 years. Yeah.
You
But
did. Yeah. So, nutritionist, nurse, doctor. My personality doesn't work so well down here. And I did my internship and I was like, I'd have these renal failure patients and I'm like, really, we really should check their diet. And it's not as though, the doctors want anything bad for their patients at all. God, no. But, when you're trying to save somebody's life, nutrition is not what you're really focusing on, which is so interesting to people like you and I, right? Like, we're like, let's talk food. Like, that's their fuel. Their toenails are using their food. The medicine is like, breaking their nails, so let's talk food. And it was just, it's just the way it's laid out, right? I think it'll shift and I think it'll change. But for me, that wasn't going to work. So I graduated and then I thought, what am I going to do? I had to get a job. Like I was off the docket for my dad. He was done time. So I had no money, nothing. I decided, well, I have this amazing education in food service and nutrition. So I sold food and that was really boring. So then I got a job at Enron and fast forward, I became a commodities trader. So that was fun. I loved all that. And then I met my husband. And I worked a little bit longer and then we got engaged and oops, I got pregnant with Teddy. And then we got married. And then I had Teddy, and during the pregnancy, my mom got sick with cancer, which was sad, and she passed away right after Teddy was born. And I just decided that going back to work at that time was not going to be a good decision for this and for this. So I quit my job, and then I told my husband. Yeah, that went over not so well. Anyway, and after I had 4 kids. And I started blogging because what does a stay-at-home mom do? I mean, she blogs.
Yep, that's what I did. Started
right?
blogging. Yeah.
Laundry, blogs, cook dinner, shopping, lunch. I mean, that's what it is. It's like the most fortunate job in the world, I think. I am so fortunate to be able to stay home. But anyway, then we decided to have one more, and I, cut and paste all my blog, put it in Word, and after a series of the girls are IVF. All the other ones are natural, but the girls are IVF. And that is another interview. But they, when I got to be about 6 months with them, I couldn't write anymore. So I put it all on hold. And then a year later, when I was kind of out of the weeds of having 2 infants, I got back to my book and wrote it. And now, it took me a long time to kind of come together what my theme is. And my biggest thing for parents is to teach your children to have skin in the game, do more for themselves so that we can have a life. So you can be doing what you're doing, right? I mean, you hiring an au pair and you guys both stay at home is amazing and so brilliant, right? It makes your life better.
Oh, it's unbelievable. I mean, it kind of drives me crazy having my husband here all the time, like constantly making messes and harassing me. But again, I wouldn't have it any other way because we're all together all the time. Oh,
yeah.
And it's amazing.
So that's kind of how I got there. I really see parents killing themselves to raise their children. And yes, it is a hard job. It really is. But I think that we need to laugh more. I think we need to make fun of ourselves. I think we need to screw up more. I mean, Teddy said to me this morning, he was like, or last night he was working on something. He's like, oh, I don't have to do this till March 23rd. And I said, oh, don't worry about it. And he goes, well, don't you think that's bad that I, messed up the date? And I was like, do you know how much I screw up on our schedule? Do you have any idea? And he just kind of laughed thinking, oh yeah, like she didn't pick me up from tennis a couple weeks ago. Oh, somebody else was like, yeah, it doesn't look like your mom's coming. No, she's not.
Oh, that's funny.
Well,
I think it's important for them to see us screw up too, because it gives them the tools to know that they can screw up. Like, for example, this weekend, my husband loves to ice fish. We have an ice palace. So he's out there all the time on the weekends. And I'm like, hello, single parent here. So I was really crabby and I was trying to put together this bookshelf that he said he was going to do. And my personality is ready, fire, aim. I don't tend to read instructions. So I was hammering this thing. I put it together completely backwards. And I got so mad. I was pounding on it as hard as I could. And it snapped. It completely snapped. The things broke. And I lost my mind in front of my kids. And like, I was just I'm like, everybody leave, everybody go away. No one can be here. And then he came home and he had to take the whole thing apart and re-put it together. But then afterwards, I was like, okay, guys, see, mommy had a total meltdown, didn't she? Yeah, mom, you were pretty mad. And I'm like, and that's okay. And that probably wasn't very appropriate behavior, and I probably could have handled that a little bit better. So we had a little discussion about mommy's flip out and how I probably could have handled the situation better. But they appreciated that I was like, hey, I'm a person and I sometimes do stupid stuff, like break shelves and then throw a tantrum, and it was a nice little conversation I had with my kids, and it shows them that we're real people, you know.
I totally agree. I mean, I am not going to put on an apron, bake cakes for all their birthdays, look perfect for my husband, not lose my temper. I'm so real. I'm going to screw up. I'm going to be in a bad mood. I'm not going to look great for my husband all the time. Like, that is not true, real living. And I don't think that we can keep it up. I just don't. And I don't want my kids to think that they need to keep up with the smartest guy. I'll say the smartest guy in the room, right? That's not going to let them feel and be and taste and love who they want to be and are and all of those things. Like, I am so happy when I screw up and my kids see it. And I'm so happy when I see my kids have a bad day. And I mean that with like so much love and endearing. I really, truly do. But, when they screw up and they're under our roof, I think it's fantastic. Mm-hmm. For example, today, it's been dumping snow here all day. And I said to Ian when he was walking out the door, I said, why don't you take your dad's car? It's much better in the snow. And he's like, okay. And my husband's out of town. I have no idea where he is. I can't keep track. And so I said, it's fine. It doesn't matter. Then, so Ian has arranged this deal where he picks up 2 other kids and they pay him. Because I used to do it for him because I was like, I can't get him and 3 other kids to school. So I found this kid in the neighborhood, his mom I knew. I said, look, I'll pay you $20 a week to take Ian to school, the kid. So Ian does this, makes a fortune. Anyway, I'm standing on the phone looking out our front window and I see him go by at about 45 miles an hour in the snow in his dad's car with these 2 kids in the car. And I call him up and I was like, Ian, slow down. Of course he answers the phone too, but I think he has it hooked in, Yeah. I was like, slow down. I was screaming at him. Oh, sorry. I'm like, if you want to drive fast, don't drive by my house. Don't.
Yeah, totally.
But anyway, I got livid at this kid. I was furious. And and this child he's going to a very good school, very prestigious college. He's smart, top of his class, all these things. But I'm going to lose it when they deserve it. Mm-hmm. Right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. This kid was flying.
Wow. And then snow, too. It's like, yikes.
Well, and he's probably from driving his car and then getting in his dad's car. He's like, woo.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think being real with your kids is so important. There's so many, and like showing that you actually prioritize yourself sometimes too. Like, and I explained to my kids the reason why I lost it. I said, you guys, everyone's been sick in our house. I've been doing everything. Daddy had a man cold. Now he's going fishing. I said, Mommy has literally not even been able to sleep. Like, I need time to myself. And so I went up and organized the playroom because that's how I do time to myself. But I said, I don't want to be around humans. I don't want to be around any human beings right now. I just need some time to myself. And then afterwards I was like, see, that's what I needed. And they understood that I was setting boundaries. Because some people, I see my friends, and they're just trying to do their best, but they've lost everything that is their own. They are completely slaves to their children, and they're miserable. You need to set boundaries.
Think about the message that you're sending to, I'll just say your daughter, your son too, but that you need time to yourself when she is in her first relationship, right? And you know how you get into that relationship and it's kind of tough. She is going to know that it's okay and it's wise and it's smart and it's brilliant and it's important for her to say to her boyfriend or her girlfriends, I need time to myself. And you know where she learned that? From you. Mm-hmm. I write about it. I think I have probably, what's my book? I don't even know how many pages it is. 240-ish. And I probably have 50 to 60 pages throughout the book, not one section, of why it is so important for us to have time to ourselves. And not just us, your au pair, nannies, caregivers, grandparents.
Mm-hmm.
It's so, I mean, if I hadn't have written my book and you hadn't have done your amazing blog, which we haven't talked about, I just printed out your peanut butter cup recipe this morning.
Yay.
I know, I'm so excited. What would we do after they're all gone?
Mm-hmm.
Stare at a golf cart? No. Mm-mm.
Well, and
I think it's so cool. I think
it's fun when
Go
you get to blog and work from home too, because my kids see, there's times when I'm like, nobody can eat this because I have to take pictures of it first because this is going up my blog. Like they see me working in my day to day, and I teach classes in my home on wellness and getting kids healthy for school. And I was out speaking at a mama's group last week, and so they see me doing all this stuff, and so they know that they don't have to do that cookie cutter job. You go to college, you get the degree, you do the job. You're not really happy in it, but it's a good job. They see that I was a nurse and I fell out of love with nursing because it wasn't healing people. And I created something out of nothing, not to like pat myself on the back, but they see that you can do whatever you want, as long as you just
should pat yourself on the back.
Well, thanks.
That's awesome.
Well, thank you.
It is.
But so now my daughter wants to be an author illustrator. My 6-year-old just told me yesterday he's going to be a world famous explorer. I mean, they just have all these, they're not like, I want to be a fireman or a spaceman. They have like these really creative things that they want to do. And I think it's because they see that my husband and I both do what we want. Like we created our jobs. It's kind of cool. It's kind of fun.
It's really, really cool. And it's really fun. And it is amazing because I really do think that the sky is the limit for them, and they get to be a part of it, which I don't think that it's I don't think every day should be a take your kid to work day, but a lot of conference calls Monday mornings when he's taking the kids to school, and the kids are having like their David Keller MBA program, Monday mornings. They're just kind of a part of it, being exposed to it, and
and
they
they're
see
always
my blog
listening.
or I'll need to take. It's cool.
Yeah. No, I mean, our kids, they're always listening. They pay attention to when I'm on, I'll be on calls, somewhere, and I don't think that anyone's listening. They're listening to me educating, doing team meetings, masterminds. Luke's always doing interviews, and they pick up on that, and I love it.
It's a really massive gift you're giving your kids.
Yeah, I love it.
It's cool.
It's a crazy lifestyle. I love it. It's just wild. But so I want people to know more about where they can find you and how they can find your awesome book and all that stuff. So I'm going to put links in the show notes and everything, but just tell them quickly where everybody can find you.
So my book is really easy to buy on Amazon. And there's a Kindle version and an audio version, which is read by a wonderful woman, Lindsay Martell. My Instagram is @Kysa Keller, and I post, as you know, tons of tips, tons of funny things about my husband, who I'm slowly getting in a lot of trouble from him for those, but he's hilarious. And I do a blog. I have to say my blog is short. You can read it in a sip of coffee. It's just little simple teeny tips. For example, I tape one of my kids' spelling lists in my calendar. So,
I read that.
At a stoplight, I can quiz him. So we don't really have to carve out time, but that kid has spelling less tests all the week. So just little things like that that'll just make life super easy and less work for you.
Yeah, I think that's fabulous. And then I just usually ask my guests basic questions just because I love to hear everybody's answers to these. So at the most basic level, what is one simple and important step that people can do to get on the track to great health? Just one simple step. Very basic.
God, that is a great question. Really, 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 really basic. I would say for 15 minutes, just do what you want to do. Like seriously ask yourself, what do I want to do right now? Do I want to go for a walk? Make it happen. And I think that is really, really important that we do something for ourselves every day. And I'm not talking about going shopping. I'm talking really do I want a cup of coffee right now? Have it. Do I want a piece of toast? Do I want to sit down in front of the news and just soak in some negativity first? I'm kidding.
I feel the same way.
Whatever. We all have these things. Oh gosh, I want to do this, but we don't ever do it. I think 15 minutes a day, just if you have to get up 15 minutes early, just do it. I really think that is we need to do it.
Yeah.
We really need to give to ourselves.
I completely agree.
What's your answer to that question?
Well, I think optimizing sleep. For me, when I don't sleep, I am awful. And I have really prioritized sleep, and it has changed my world. I get up at 4 a.m. I know you're an early riser too. I get up at 4 a.m. to work, and if I don't prioritize sleep at night, I feel awful. And when I make my kids prioritize sleep, when I make everybody prioritize sleep, everything just goes better. Everything.
Yeah.
It's very basic.
5 of my kids go to bed at 7 every night.
Wow.
7 to 7.
That's awesome.
So it's a big priority in our house.
Yeah, we do 7:30, but I told them we're moving it up to 7 tonight because everyone's getting really crabby, and I know it's because they're tired. And so my other question then is, what do you think is the most detrimental influence on our health today?
My first answer would be Starbucks, but I like a soy latte every now and again. Screen time.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially the news.
I don't want to totally go up on my soapbox, but I don't know. We don't need screens at restaurants. Kids don't need screens at the grocery store. It's really sad to me. It's really sad. I mean, there's so much to look at the grocery store. And whenever I see a kid in the cart with the iPad or the mom's phone, or they're crying and the mom just hands the screen, because they're twisting off and they're mad. What does that look like fast forward 10 years? Like you didn't have to deal with your emotions. So someone gave you a screen. What does someone give you when you're 13? How do you manage your emotions when you never learned to manage them at 3? I know that's really extreme. It's just sort of how I think about it.
No, I 100% agree. Our kids don't have, the only time we use screens is if they're not feeling well and they just need to lay on the couch because they're exhausted. We'll put on like a movie and Netflix, no commercials. And we bring an iPad when we fly, because in a plane with all those people, when your kids are losing their mind, you have to do something. Otherwise, they don't ever have our phones, ever. They don't even know how to use them. And I agree. My kids read books. When we went on the most recent trip, they all brought books for the flight. It was awesome.
Yeah.
So
we are exactly the same as you.
Yeah. Exactly
the same.
And it's tough. They see their friends, but again, we did the education piece where I said that is not good for your developing brain. It doesn't inspire any creativity because you're just watching something. No creativity in my daughter because she wants to be an author illustrator. I told her, I said, it's going to change your brain chemistry and make you a less creative person. And she's like, I'm never watching TV again, and I'm like, okay, just, ease into this here. But education is power, I think, for their little minds, and screens are definitely, I mean, if you've seen the Disney cartoon, now I can't even think of the name of it. It's that little robot and WALL-E.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, where all the people just drive around in their motorized carts with their screens all day long. I'm like, that is our future. That is us right now.
Yeah. Yeah. It really is hard for me. I have to zip it and not get on my soapbox a lot because I do not agree.
Yeah. Yep. No, I feel ya. Well, I think that's it. So thank you so much for coming on, and I will put links to all your goodness below. And you guys, you should go follow her on her blog and on Instagram if you want a good laugh. I love your Instagram account. It's so real and just fantastic. Very much resonates with my personality of this is life, folks. Take it or leave it. If you don't like it, unfollow me.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And I get that a lot.
Yeah. Oh, totally. I just did a rant about the school shootings on my Facebook page last week and how we need to address mental health in kids through diet, nutrition, and no screen time and all this stuff. And I definitely had some haters coming out of the woodwork, but you know what? You got to get your message across some way, and not everyone's going to love you. So.
No, they're not. That's okay.
Yeah, it's all right. Awesome.
It was so fun to be on, Kate. I really appreciate it. I really, really do. I love your blog.
Well, thank you.
Definitely. I made the face cream, the frankincense face cream.
It's amazing.
And the elderberry syrup. I know.
Yay.
So I have it every morning.
Those are my 2 most viral posts, actually, my elderberry syrup and my frankincense. Those just keep cycling through. So
love them. They're
excellent.
Awesome.
Thank you for listening in to Real Food RN Wellness Podcast today. By tuning in regularly, you will begin to take your healthful lifestyle into your own hands and develop an empowered attitude about yours and your family's life. If you want to be the first to know about the latest news, recipes, and healthy living tips, then go to www.realfoodrn.com and sign up today.